I'm Tony Sklar with bnetTV. We are here at the Small Cells Global Conference in Berlin. I'm speaking with Mr. Julian Bright. How are you today, sir?
I'm very well, thanks.
Excellent. So for all the viewers out there in bnetTV land, give us a brief overview of what you do at Informa and why you're here at the Small Cells Conference.
Yeah, sure. I'm a senior analyst with the networks team at Informa, so we research all aspects of networks, technologies and infrastructure. We report on radio access technologies, core networks, backhaul technologies, a whole range of topics around networks generally.
And this morning you were giving a particular presentation, obviously going to be regarding small cells. What were some of the highlight points from that?
Yeah, that was really talking about our research into the small cell sector and just presenting some of the key findings that we have from our latest quarter 3 studies, really talking about the growth in femtocell deployments and small cell deployments generally. A key point in that presentation was the fact that in the middle of October, we passed a fairly significant inflection point when the total number of installed small cells exceeded the number of macro cells. So that was quite an interesting aspect of that presentation. And we talked a little bit about a specific implementation looking at Japanese mobile operator SoftBank, who we talked about in terms of their small cell strategy, which is quite an interesting example, I think, of an operator really exploiting small cell technology in a significant way.
Can you expand upon that a little bit more about what they're doing that's different from other carriers globally and what that deployment will inevitably, that structure will inevitably look like?
Yeah, sure. They started out like many operators with a domestic or a consumer femtocell strategy and extended that into the enterprise space. They then started rolling out small cells in urban centres. These are outdoor small cells now, and also into the rural areas of Japan, where perhaps other technologies don't currently penetrate, where broadband services aren't currently reaching. So they've used small cell technology really in a developing way as part of an evolving strategy to really roll out services to a wider public, mainly at this stage in terms of developing coverage, but I guess further down the line, moving towards LTE, there'll be more of perhaps a capacity element to that as picture as well. But
let's expand on that a little bit too, because I think that the small cell infrastructure and using LTE as backhaul is something that's quite a common theme amongst all the carriers.
Yes, we've heard about a few trials that have involved using TD-LTE as a backhaul technology. I think the reports I've heard is that it's a viable solution. It's one that some vendors are keen to promote, and operators have certainly had some good results, I think, with their trials. I think there are a few questions around that strategy, whether it's a long-term solution for small cell deployments, or whether further down the line operators might look for other technologies to provide the capacity necessary for small cell backhaul. And also there's the issue around how you're using your TDD spectrum, whether you want to use it for backhaul or whether you prefer to use it in the access part of the network. So I think there are a few questions around it, but it certainly is. It's one option that I think is certainly being explored and looks promising. Yeah.
Let's look at if you could expand upon some of the challenges that exist currently in the ecosystem, and then what you think and how you think that those might be hurdled over within the next short while.
Mm-hmm. The challenges really, a lot of them are focused around a small number of key issues. One of those is cost. Another one is the practical challenges of deploying small cells and the issues around how and where you locate the small cell sites. And another one is around how you backhaul them. So those are really the 3 key areas. In terms of cost, I mean, this is something that the industry will, over the period of time, will address. Costs necessarily need to be driven down because a small cell deployment needs to be significantly cheaper in cost terms than to a macro cell. And the figures I've heard around the show are driving this down to about 10% or around that area of the equivalent macro cost. I think there's a little way to go in those terms yet, and also in evaluating the total cost of deployment, particularly when you take into account obtaining sites, city sites, for example, in street furniture, lampposts, or buildings. There are a number of unknown costs associated with that, and I think operators are still discovering that's going to be a key element. We've heard some examples here of companies offering to host small cell networks. Companies that perhaps already have a backhaul infrastructure in place, a fiber optic network, or some kind of fixed network that will provide backhaul capacity, offering to obtain sites on behalf of mobile operators and ease, if you like, the process of rolling out small cell networks in urban centres. So I think, there are these significant challenges, and there are some solutions being proposed, but we're at a very early stage still at the moment.
So this drives me into my final question here, Julian, which is, why is it important to attend functions or conferences like the Small Cell Global Congress?
Yeah, I think very much at this Congress what's emerged is there are a very large number of questions still around small cell technologies. I think the broad industry consensus is that this technology has to come about. It's needed, it's inevitable, because the macro solution is not going to take us forward into the next 10, 15 years. But the questions are still out there, and a lot of them need to be answered. And in this kind of forum, people can discuss those issues. They can learn from the experience of others in terms of how they address those challenges, and really start to get a better picture and a better understanding, I think, of the whole sort of small cell world, if you like, the challenges, the issues that need to be addressed. So it's a great place to really learn and understand about how that's evolving.
I look forward to your next report, and Julian, thanks for taking the time to speak with us.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. I've been speaking with the Informa analyst Julian Bright here at the Small Cell Global Congress in Berlin. I'm Tony Sklar with bnetTV.